Atlantic Ocean, upon me hills to full country, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday, it's focused on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information. Education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a brand new edition of our anniversary month, September Speakers or Interview Series. Today is a special day. We have our CEO, Mr. Dennis Jar, will be sitting on the hot seat. We don't know who Mr. Dennis Jar is. We know him only as the owner of FOL. Well, who is this mysterious human being? How did he come up with these ideas? We are going to be delving into that today. We are going to be asking Mr. Jar. He said it's a no-holds bar, so we can ask any question. Did you know that Mr. Dennis Jar is an author, a poet, a griot? Do you know what a griot is? In Bassa or in our traditional folk, we call him the town crier. Someone who tells the folks that war is about to begin, the enemies are coming, or when doing death, we do the family tree, the lineages. Is the griot, the guy who does that. So today we are honored to have Mr. Jar agree to sit here. When I talked about it first, he was hesitant. Why? Why me? I'm always here every day. But then when he and I went talking, he found out that I didn't know much about him. So this is where we are. The first hour of this show is dedicated to the CEO, Mr. Dennis Jar. And to do this heavy lifting, I couldn't do it by myself. I got some of the giants in our business here. Mr. Michael Padmore is here to help me out. Our ultimate diplomat, Mr. Jimmy Eastman, is here to keep us in check. If we are crossing the line, going personal, Mr. Taiwo is here from Houston. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My co-host, Mr. Eastman, how you doing there? We introduce our guest last. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing. Oh, okay.
Mr. Eastman, there you go.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gamer. It's a pleasure being here as usual, and especially on a day like this where we get to host our CEO, Dennis Jar, whose brainchild has now blossomed into this whole network where we bring intelligent information to our audience, to Liberians, across platforms, across denominations, across political entities, and it's a great opportunity to shed light where light belongs. So it's a pleasure being here today, and I look forward to a very riveting conversation.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, please do us a favor, share the show in your network. If you do, or if you have done, please give us a thumbs up so we can know that you're helping us share the show. Mr. Padmore.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Mr. Gaiman. It's great to be here. It's a great Sunday in the state of Minnesota, um, and I'm glad to be here with all you honorable gentlemen. Hopefully, we can learn more about CEO and also delve into a little bit of politics. So it's good to be here. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Towell from Houston, how you doing this, sir?
I'm doing very good, and I'm glad to be here. Actually, I'm from Liberia.
Okay.
I,
Sounds
I'm
good.
glad. I'm glad to be here, and yes, I don't know anything about Mr. Ja. I mean, over the years, I watched him when FOL was in its infancy, and then when I found out that he was in Atlanta, actually there was an email that was attached to this, and I wanted to kind of make some contribution to some of the comments, and I tried emailing to introduce myself, but apparently maybe because things were so new, there was some glitches, and I didn't get a response. So I kind of just left it alone and waited until I encountered you, Mr. Gaiman. So I'm glad to be here to get to know who Mr. Jar is.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'm glad and privileged to introduce to you Mr. Dennis Jar. It looks like Mr. Jar comes from a huge family because every time I'm on social media, I see Jar, 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 and they're all attacking me from everywhere. Especially one lady in Liberia, but she just, when she hear me, ah. So Mr. Jar, welcome to our show. This is your network. This is this is something that you thought about. Uh, from my own background check, I know you from Sino, even though I put you wrongly in Maryland County. You went to Monrovia College. You did very well there. You got some great connections in Liberia. Some of the guys in top position are also from Monrovia College. So we are glad to have you. Mr. Eastman, the diplomat is here. If I were to introduce somebody of their caliber, where would I begin?
Where will you begin? Well, you can tell that Mr. Ja comes to us from a background of intelligentsia. He definitely belongs to that group where they discuss the issues of the day, investigate, research, and keep abreast of the topics that affect us every day. So definitely Mr. Ja falls in that category in intelligentsia. He didn't get to be with us in LU. I know he would have been one of the culprits there who spurred on the difference in thought, the soup eras, the Sawyer eras, the Lyric and Toba eras. He would have been somebody down there in the trenches with us. But the war came, and that changed the path of all of us. So I think we will see Mr. Ja as an activist. He has not asserted himself to that role yet, but I do see him taking on that in the future.
Great. Mr. Patmore, usually in our tradition, somebody does well, they're doing well. We wait until they die, right? Then we come out there and write all these spider stories about how great they were, how smart. Even the guy you've been talking nasty things about, we say, do not say anything evil about the dead. So we fabricate these stories. But in this case, this is not the case here. So we are doing it in public, in full view of the world. Mr. Patmore, your take.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's great. A lot of people know about FOL, but a lot of people do not know about the founders and how it started, where the idea came from, and the path they took to get here. So I think it's great. I think it's great that we get to highlight FOL and we get to highlight, the people that did the heavy lifting, including Mr. Ja, to get, focus on Liberia to where it is today, and hopefully where it's headed. So I think it's a great initiative. I hope that other people that are involved in other organizations do the same. Like you said, it's good for you to celebrate, the people that make such impact, while they can still smell the flowers, smell the roses. So hopefully that's what we'll get to. That's what we'll get to do here today. Even though I believe 1 hour will not be enough, but we'll do our best.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there, if you knew Dennis Jar, if you grew up with him, somebody's already said here, from the childhood they knew he wanted to be an electrical engineer and a mathematician. So still within the civil engineering field. If you have questions, you know who he is. Put a question in the comment section. If you want to call, the number is scrolling, call, and we'll go from there. Without further ado, Mr. Jar, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Really, the reason maybe people would not know because when you're cooking potato, the big one go on under. So I always like to go under, right? That's why I don't like to talk about myself, but I'm very happy and I'm pleased and I appreciate all of you taking up the time to say, well, we want to talk to you. The fact that even Jesus alluded to the fact that a prophet is not respected in his own home, right? So, but you guys have kind of gone against that and you give me this enormous respect in my own home. So I don't take it lightly. I really, really appreciate it that you thought about talking to me. So I'm happy that I'm here, that I can share my thoughts. I can introduce or reintroduce myself to the audience and what really my dreams are, what get me going, and what really I hope to accomplish with focus on Liberia. One thing I always tell folks, if there is anything that you would not remember, please remember that I want focus on Liberia to live without me. That even if I'm dead and gone and focus on Liberia ceases to exist, I believe I have done nothing. And so kudos to all of you that support this and come around, voluntarily, your time and effort. All of you that make me look good. Sometimes I come on, I consult before I ask the question, and I look so good, and they call me well-rounded because of all of you. So really, really appreciate it, and I appreciate our audience. I appreciate those who've been here supporting us. They'll call us, they will tell us stuff. Oh, you're doing well. Even God, thank you. So thank you for thanking me.
Thank you. And I wonder, and now we lost one of our greatest supporters on FOL, Mr. Sam Wall, who said he was never going to come back on here anymore. We lost him. I made a mistake. Oh, Sam is back. Thank you, Sam. Thank you for coming back. Mr. John, you are an author. You are a poet. You are very, very versed in not tribal in general, but cultural parables and famous saying. We're going to delve into some of those later on. But you wrote a book about the Republic, and it's basically sacred minded. We're going to delve into that. But tell us, where were you born, and how did you get to speaking English and all of that? Because when you go to America, they ask you from Africa, you got a home over there, you got life.
Thank you.
Tell her, where were you born, sir?
Thank you. And again, my name is Dennis. If you see in my middle song, you see Tane Chiwuri. Some people come, oh, are you man? You Tane. So my parents, Wilson Jeble Ja and Anna Tane Ja. So Tane is my mother's name. In my culture, the boys are named after their mother. So Tane's son Dennis, my name is Chiwuri. So it's Tane Chiwuri, meaning Tane's son Chiwuri, right? My sister. So my father had 14 children, 2 passed away, so we are 12 now. And he had 3 wives, but 2 at a time. So we have 3 mothers. And in my family, you won't know which mother, who come from which mother, because very close family. Even right here in the States, we still hold our teleconferences group chat. So it's like every day. Those of us that are in the States, we talk to one another. People back in Liberia, we talk. So yeah, so I was born in this little town called Dodwican, all the way in Sino County, and it's Jiripo district, or people now say district number 2, right? And part of the that group of called Gribble, right? But Dripo is it's a subgroup of Grebo, and that's in Sino. So Grebo occupy Grand Cru, Sino, Maryland, River G. And these are all different groups. So I don't know of any collective name in Grebo that say Grebo, right? Because every subgroup is known by its own unique name. So I'm Dripo from that little area. So that group borders River G County. So if you go River G now, you have the Tiempo, the Kelipo, the Palipo, the Buipo. You will always find Po at the end, meaning people, group of people. So Jimmy and his clan will say Jimmy Po. Michael Po. So you always put that Po. So anytime you see that Po, that's what it means. Then I'm come from Dodo, so when you can me on top. In those days, people live on top of hills for warfare. So most of the time you will hear on top of thing. So it goes on and on like that. So that's where I'm from. I was born in this little town. That's where I went to school. In the 1940s or 1930s, there were missionaries, American missionaries that went in that place and they established a school, a mission school for orphanage. And so when we were born, we were able to go through that. Life was good. So in my town, the two things that dominate will be education and Christianity. In that church where my mom was an usher, that's where I got baptized. Stayed there until I graduated from 9th grade in my little village before going to Monrovia and attending Monrovia College. I was blessed to have sisters who were old enough to be my mom, right? So after you leave your parents in the interior, you go and live with your sister. And they sent me to one of the best schools, Monrovia College. In those days, around $360 per year, or maybe per year was a lot of money. I graduated from Monrovia College in 1988. And while in Monrovia College, I was the second vice president. At the end of the school year, I was also the chairman of the Social Science Club. We call it the Dr. Lucy York Social Science Club. And also, I was captain of the Meet the Challenge team. That year, 1988, we went to the final with St. Patrick's and we were defeated.
It's okay.
In that team, I had Sebastian Moa, who was the former deputy finance minister. We were all in 12th grade. Amara Connor, who became another finance minister, was in the 10th grade by then. He said, oh, one guy in 10th grade, no history. So we put him on our team. I think he played one game. And 1989, I went to the University of Liberia, majoring, as somebody said, electrical engineering. And I heard that, that was my major. The war came, 1990 war, we left. I was driven away. We went to Guinea. There I was in the little town of Bosu at the border of Yekepa. In that place, an opportunity came when people knew that we were in university. They said, hey, so we started teaching. So I taught. When things subsided, I went back to Monrovia to continue university. I registered, got readmitted. This time I thought that things not looking too good. So I can't do engineering anymore. The college is destroyed. So I decided to major economics and minor math. It was in 92, there was Octopus, Deadly War, when Charles Taylor, in his being an evil genius, launched his war. They said they were launching at all fronts, 16 fronts to make it look like Octopus. That's why it was called Octopus. Again, I was driven away. I went Guinea again. And when I say went, it's like the process of going through the rebel checkpoint, this was horrible. We were conscripted, sometimes fear being conscripted. We went through most of the horrific things you ever go through. Well, in Guinea again, then 96, they said we thought the war was over. Went back to Monrovia 95. So we can enroll, I got to enroll at university again because it was this school. I want to go to school. And then there was another war called Roosevelt Johnson War, 1996. That one, I think I had enough. Went back to Guinea. Went to say, well, we're not going to be at the border again so that we can not be tempted to go back to Monrovia. So went to Ivory Coast, from there Nigeria, and then Ghana. It is from Ghana now in 2000 that I came to the United States, and the story there is long, but I'm cutting it short. So that synopsis, one of the things that really changed my life is the opportunity to teach refugees in Guinea. In that, being a university student, I was teaching math. I started with elementary, and I was so good. The students said, "Well, this man need to." One day they wanted us to tutor the kids because the children because people were coming to a different group. The ROC school system was taking over the schools, so they wanted to take tests. So they drew the test and they said, "Well, you guys go and tutor the kids for the test." So I started tutoring from 7th grade to 12th grade. When they saw me teaching math, they said, "But where have you been?" And that's how I was recruited to teach math up to 12th grade. And I mean, I have students now. One of my students was when we took over, he was the agriculture minister, Dr. Mugana Flomo. I taught him in the 10th grade, 1994. I was his class sponsor. So you see, some of my students have, been doing well in Liberia. So that's a brief, about me concerning school. Right here, I've been in America. I'm married to my lovely refugee sweetheart, Eugenia, and we have 3 kids. 2 of those kids are in college now. In fact, Boris, my youngest, he's having a soccer game now. I drop him at the field to play his game. Right after the show, I'm going to go there and watch him, cheer him up, and then come back. So I'm here in the United States. My first degree, people, and let me say this because a lot of people think I did political science or something, but I went to school. My first degree is in computer networking. I started doing that, so I couldn't get a job, so I have to switch and learn little software. So I started doing SQL and all those things on my own, and then I got that's how I got my first QA job. I went back to school in grad school, University of Massachusetts, and I did healthcare management and policy with concentration in health informatics. So I've been working in that health informatics field for since 2010. And what that is just the bridge between the IT people and the healthcare people. And so that's what I speak both languages. I'm able to connect them. So most of what I do is to manage integration projects. And that's what I've been doing. Right now I'm in transition. I really want to change my career. And again, let me tell you what my dream job is: to go back home in Sino County and be the superintendent of Sino County at the same time teaching math at Sino High School. Thank you.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, great show here. You will learn a lot. Please share the show. We are learning. I'm hoping that Prince Johnson and Joseph Boakai are listening. When I hear that we do not want to talk to anybody from the Southeast anymore, Southeasterner this, Southeasterner that, tell me, why would you look at someone like Dennis Jar and say, with all your qualifications, with all you have done, because you're from somewhere in the Southeast, you will never contribute to the onward movement of our nation? This is destructive in nature.
That's just a political talk. I don't think they take the talking serious talk. That's just political.
Well, you see, in politics, I think we're going to talk about this here. Words have meanings, and you at the time may not mean what you say, but your followers mean what they say. Mr. Eastman, your take and question to Mr. Jha.
Yes, very good, Mr. Jha. Thanks for that brief history of your sojourn that got you to the United States. Now, you did say that you're looking to change careers. And if you do change careers, which career do you want to go into? Where do you think your calling is?
Well, and maybe if my calling is to teach. I love to teach. So if I have the opportunity, I like to teach. And first I thought about teaching university, but my calling is to teach high school and junior high and just mentor people, right? I want to be to a place, in America, the work is so demanding. I mean, I was doing a job. I have to leave because I mean, even though I was making good money, but even my back, I mean, I would sit down for 4 hours without even knowing I'm sitting down. So sometimes I say, well, with all this, if I were home, I could be doing this and at the same time, coaching a little soccer team. Like in Bannersville, 1989, we had an under 14 soccer team called FC Juveniles. I could be doing something also in the church. I could be doing something in the community. So that's my heart, right? I want to be able to have a Socrates kind of school, right? To teach people under the trees wherever they are, so that they can. And I'm glad that I'm doing this, even as I mentor the FOL folks in Liberia. A little about writing, reporting, how you do these things. It gives me a lot of fulfillment. But I want to stay in healthcare a little bit, so that because I think so. I'm still kind of reading and doing and looking at things, but I want to get a little deeper in healthcare because most of the time what I see in Liberia is people look at just the technical part of healthcare, meaning you get the doctors, you have the needles, you have the machines, but what's about process improvement? What's about system thinking? What's about doing things to make things easier? Because Mr. Patmo knows better than I do when it comes to healthcare. It's just a matter of seconds. Like
Yep.
live or die, right? So if you
Yep.
can even declutter a hallway, you can save life than an X-ray machine. But I see the focus is always on, let's send a machine, let's do the surgery, let's do these things. What's about quality assurance? What's about process improvement? So I want to go a little more deeper in healthcare and health.
Okay. As you can see, when I interacted with Mr. Jar, I thought he was a journalist, to be verified. I didn't know that he had any background. I thought he was a journalist. Mr. Patmore.
Yes. So you're absolutely right, Mr. John. I actually sent staffers to a facility the other day, and I had to go there and actually tell them all of the machines you have in the hallway needs to be on one side of the hallway, because they had it on both sides. I'm like, so what if there's an emergency and a car that's coming down the hallway, so that zigzag you'll be doing, put everything on one side. But it's a simple thought process like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, my question to you, let's go all the way back. Let's go all the way back. So how did you get the name Ja?
Well,
it doesn't come to me as a Liberian name first, and maybe it just be my ignorance. So how
no,
did you get the name Ja?
you are not ignorant, right? So the way names were formed, like what named after my grandfather, his name is Jawon, but the nickname, so they call him Ja, right? And also, and I asked this question to many because I see a lot of jazz that I'm not related to. So I asked the same question: how did you? And most of them is the short form. There's also a group of word called Ja, meaning climb, like up. But so Jawon is like go up and answer, something like I'm trying to, and I'm maybe making it up because some of these names nobody even think about the meaning. So Ja is the short form of a name called Jawon.
Okay.
That's what we're using. Sometimes it gets there, there was a time when people came and wanted to say, "Oh, why can't we change it?" And sometimes you just stay with it, right? My father was over there, so he went to school because when our parents are born, they don't have first and last name. That's a Western concept. You are named after your mother. So my father is Jeble, his mother is Tomplu, so they call him Tomplu Jeble. Or his father is Jawon, so they can sometimes call him Jawon Jeble, meaning Jawon son Jeble, right? So he went to school in the Kings Peter, Williamtown area there, what people call Wete or Nana Crew. That's where he went to school. So when he got there, probably, maybe his name was Peter Ja. When he got there, his professor, his teacher also was Peter. And it was so disrespectful to be you and your teacher to have the same name. So he changed his name to Wilson.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
But yeah, that's how the Ja name. So it was just a short form. Oh, Ja children, Ja. That was his nickname. So that's what the name is.
Great.
Okay.
Mr. Tao.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ja. I'm grateful to be here on your platform and just listen to you talk. Some of the things you share, we are familiar with some of them, like running away to Ivory Coast or to Guinea and stuff like that. But I just want to know from your background that you just explained from uh, Monroe College to doing your networking and all of this stuff, what actually led you to start a platform like FOL, and when did it start? Like, what was the brainchild behind it?
Thank you. That's a very good question. So, if you are in Liberia, there are things that come to us naturally. So, while growing up, I mean, maybe anyway, Patmo maybe I mean maybe a year or two older than Pat. But at that time, everybody wanted to. It's like the things that we see were what journalism. So you read news, or you are in your sport newspaper writing, and very early story writing. And I have a big brother, like 3 years, 3 years older than I am. We David, so my family we have four boys and the rest are girls, the 14, right? So they so we most of the time we're writing, we're telling stories. We started writing our own stories very early in life. It's just that in Liberia, sometimes you don't have the mentorship to show to somebody and they kind of help you do it. It's very hard. And that's why I'm very passionate about helping kids as they send me their stuff. Oh, look at this, you know. So it was doing these things. So this came naturally. We're always writing. And Mr. Gaiman talked about the listserv. So we're on the listserv, writing about like politics. We're arguing. Before Facebook, Yahoo listserv, where we went all day writing politics and everything. So naturally, my natural ability, if people were to, I don't know how they call it when you go to school here, that career counseling, maybe they were going to say, okay, do something in the social sciences. But when you're in Liberia, I was the second deuce or Sebastian Moa. That's why I sometimes was the first, I was the second. So when you come from high school and you are a good student, everybody say, go do science, go do this, right? So it's like people tell you, or you feel that because you are smart in this area or you're doing good in math, go do this. But my natural ability in the social sciences, like, it come to me naturally. And so I would do this. And from reading and listening to radio, like for instance, I told somebody, I said, during the war, I listened to every VOA, Radio Deutsche Welle, Radio France International, and BBC news on Liberia every day. So it's like you read newspapers, you read books, and sometimes that's why sometimes when I was asking questions and the person told me, you went to journalism school, I said, but I see that every day. So we were doing these things, and then Facebook came up, people were doing live shows, but every time there was something about Liberia, what we focused on was the war. Oh, Liberia was founded by ex-slaves or former slaves, and then few things about Liberia. Free slaves, they will say, Ebola, the Civil War, first female president, or George Weah, right? When he was a footballer. So I felt that Liberia is more than this. So I want a platform that will present a holistic view about Liberia, not just it's just all politics. And because I was always involved in these issues and someone who has a passion for teaching, somebody asked me like you're from Liberia? I say, yeah. Oh, okay. The place is okay now, right? Because there's no war. So I said, oh, so America okay because there's no war? Don't you talk about healthcare? Don't you talk about inflation? Don't you talk about all these things? So Liberia is a country. So how do we present Liberia that manner? That was always on my mind. So I had an opportunity right here in the Metro Atlanta area. We're working with the community where I was secretary, and later on I became chief of staff to the president. So doing that, we used to have a program called Lama. Lama is our organization name, Librarians in Metro Atlanta. So I think about Lama Hour. So I was hosting that. So after while doing that, because the social media was new, and I said, well, after we left, Power were no longer doing that, and I felt that I can still do something like this. I can still present something on the show. So I have some colleagues that I saw the idea to, and they believe me and agree. And one person who I describe as my mentor is my big brother Dave. So there is nothing that I do. I mean, 90% of what I do, I run it by him. Or what do you think the name will be? What is this? So in August 2017, we started our first broadcast on Focus on Liberia. That time we're just doing every Sunday at 6 o'clock. So Focus on Liberia, if I would put it in words, was established so as to do something different, to present Liberia in a way that is a country. We are not just about politics. We want to talk about love. We want to talk about sports. We want to talk about literature. We want to talk about many things else, religion and everything. So that was the drive, so that people would know us better than how everybody was taking it. It really used to upset me that every discussion was just on politics or war. And I wanted to be able to. So we started doing shows like, history of the ethnic groups. I call people, tell me about your ethnic group. And that's where it was. So since August 2017, we've been here, and it has grown to what it is today.
Great. Mr. Ja, you talk about your name, something similar to mine. The story was that my great-great-great-grandfather met this beautiful girl and followed her. She wound up being a minor girl and followed her to Nimba. And the Nimba people could not speak Bassa. He couldn't speak Mana. So they began to call him Igeme. In Mana means either stranger or who is this guy. And it just got stuck. So when he got married, when he married to the woman, brought her back to Liberia, way back then, Grand Bassa County, the name got stuck. So when the missionaries came and the Methodists, they brought these folks and they started training them. The guy who was spelling the name, all he could understand was Gayman. And he spelled it the Western way, Gayman. So the Igayman is a minor name. We have a linkage there. We forgot about our Bassa name, this beautiful woman enticed my great-great-grandfather and changed history forever. So yes, they spelled the name Igayman, they spelled it Gayman. And everything else in between got lost. So when you see me, the name Gayman is not a Bassa name, it's actually a minor verse. But let me ask you this question before I go to your beautiful wife that you married, why you made to marry her. Let's talk about fatherhood. Your influence from the little village you were born in, how your father's influence or the village life influenced your parenthood or your fatherhood today?
Can't ask him, man, why he married two wives. Can't ask me a question straight, my man.
He can't afford two. He can't afford one that two you're gonna get. Go ahead.
Thank you. Some people when I speak, they say, "Look, you live around old people for so long." So my father, maybe I was born when my father maybe was around maybe 40 or so. So he was a great man, my father, and I see him as a philosopher because he defied what everybody else was doing. In a village, in that place where people didn't really send their girls to school. My father had all girls. He had 8 girls before he had the first boy. So he was being marked by his peers because in the interior where life is about, boys, right? So if you have your boys, you're able to join the society and be your boy when you're going for those kind of conferences. But if you don't have a boy, who's going to cut partner for you? Who's going to brush the farm for you? Who's going to be setting trap and fishing and all that? So what he did was to train his girls to be like men and send them to school, all of them to school, right? And so this was strange. And he always saw far ahead that time will come, education is going to dominate. So when he sent us to school, when people, even sometimes people were forcing with him about land and everything, he said, you can have it. I know my kids are not so much going to be worried about this because they're going to be educated. And people thought it was funny. But as it went, so being with your father, and that's why it's important, it shaped mine too, to be with my children. And a friend told me who father was a senator. He said, he called me Prazo. He said, Prazo, you guys are lucky that grew up with your parents in the village because it made you to sit with him. He tell you stories. You walk with him on the farm. You guys stay on the farm all day. The bond is being created and he's pouring wisdom. He said, but for us, my father visited my mom's house maybe twice a year at the beginning of the school year and maybe around Christmas to bring our Christmas maybe gone or something. So that was, so when and the way our parents then did it in the interior was like everything they won't really tell you that much. It's like you look and learn. Most of the thing was apprenticeship. Even if you were doing something and it's not bad, they look at you. For instance, if you're playing with a knife, there is a proverb. They say a sharp knife always take itself from the child. The way, but the way to say in Grebo is meaning if a child is playing with a knife, don't tell him leave the knife. When the knife cut him, he will drop it.
Oh God.
Right. So is that kind of training? Is that kind of training we grew up in that okay, when it hurt you, you will know what it is. So if you get that and you get other training and I put all together, so that really first of all make me to stay close to my children, make sure I'm the father in their life. Marriage is hard. Sometimes you want to run away, right? Because let us not be fooled by what we see on TV. Everybody kissing, when they go to the grocery, you see the man carrying a cart, but when they get home, when they literally say take the trash, they say no. So everything is show, right? But your children is like, if you are not with your children, especially from the time the woman is pregnant to the time the child, and you are there. So my daughter, my firstborn was born. I'm like, how callous can people be? After 9 months with the woman, you watch in all this thing. How can you stay away from your children? So because of that, what I learned from my parents, imagine my father had 2 wives at the time I was born. His first wife passed away, and then my mom, who became the head wife now, went to her family. I think it was like a second cousin. Brought a second cousin to be the wife of my father. So my stepmom and my mom are related, right? Because the way it is yes, this man needs a second wife, I'm getting old, brother, and so that cordiality, because that's your relative. Other people from outside try to infiltrate and do the normal mate thing, but it didn't work with us. So I saw that how people were so together. My uncles by the time I was born on my father's side, all my uncles were gone. Okay, right now, I have just one aunt. That's my mom's big sister. That's the only person I have alive from both sides of the family, right? But I watched how the people were very close, love, and then this is what we are now passing on to our children. I told you, as brothers and sisters in the States, we hold teleconferences almost every day. Just call each other, messenger, and just joke and laugh, and sometimes do that, right? So that is strong among us, and I can boast of that, and we are trying our hardest to pass that to our children. And let me also mention that my mom passed away 1988 when I just passed to the 12th grade, and that really changed my life. Even though I was not living, but I'm her last born, right? So everything, she was so much careful because she took sick as soon after, maybe when I was around 5 years old. I was pure mom baby. I was breastfed until I started school. I used to leave the classroom as I was told, go back home to go. So, yeah, so that's who I was. So when my mom So I was in Monrovia when she came and died. I mean, it really took a toll on me. Till this day, for me to attend a funeral and don't think about that is very hard. Then in 1990, around 93, 94, our father was with us, went back home thinking that the war was okay. And there where he was killed by rebels of LPC, George Bulley. Sometimes when you say George Bulley won't sue you. But that was it. So really, those are my story, and that's how, or to answer your question, that's the kind of upbringing that is helping me even today to shape what I do and how I bring up my own family.
Great. Mr. Taiwo,
Yeah.
we want to focus on the family real quick. You know, I cannot fathom, and this is why when we talk about the American experience, the African American experience, I'm very, very careful, because we all on here grew up with our fathers, and we came into a society where single mother who were prominent or still is. So I'm very, very careful when I touch this subject. But when I see men taking their kids to the football game, the basketball game, and all of that, it touches me. Mr. Towell.
Yes. You know,
Don't be afraid to ask me about political issue.
no, it's
We're
not
coming to that.
political.
After the family, we're coming to the book. Let's do the family. The family is very important.
So for me, the political issue, the basis for it is the culture and the tradition. And the question that I'm trying to ask you is that it may be related to family also, but it's from a cultural perspective, right? Because like I grew up in Monrovia, and yes, I grew up in a community where the very languages we were all from. We had a huge Pella community. We had a big Bassa community, because like when you in Monrovia, that whole area, Bassa in other area forms that dominate that area. And then we had the Crown, which is pretty much the southeastern people. We had a small Gribble community that was just nestled between the Bassas and the Pella. And I didn't know much as a child. I grew up around a lot of Americans, and we were all going to school. And even in all of the training that they were giving us, there was one thing. There was this act of when my cousins used to come from the village and they come down, and I would take them to show them stuff. And when something go down, I come home, I'm trying to coach them. And then some of them were older than me. I come home and I'm trying to tell them like how to say, and they just say the truth. And when they say the truth, I'm like, oh, they're dumb. These people from the so then when I went in the village in 1990, I stayed there for 2 years. That was when I actually really experienced the culture. I got to really understand it. This is why I champion on this network all the time. Our politics should draw, and the leadership should draw from our culture. You grew up deep in the culture, and you were old enough before you moved to Monrovia. How are you able to reconcile? Because I struggle with this. Once I got to understand it, because me understanding the culture redefined me. Mm-hmm. It gave me a lot of confidence. It allowed me to search, to try to see who are we. And then I went on that journey, and I found out that there are a lot of materials. For that reason, I struggle in school, not with the work, but when I see the lies and just everything that is put there in the indoctrination, I argue with professors and stuff, and some throw me out of their class. And how do you reconcile with your deep cultural background, relegating your culture to pretty much almost the back, when you have to engage the Western educational system that pretty much diminish and denigrate you?
Right. And that's a very good question, because I see it the other way, right? Because my culture prepared me and made it easy for me. And I give you an example. When I went to high school and we're doing French, right? In French, instead of saying rare car, they say car rare, right? And that's how it is in my language. So it was easy for me to understand it. People couldn't understand it. because I think it's only English that does that. All other languages is the opposite, right? If you say young man, we say the man before the young. So the adjective comes second. So it prepares me. When I went to when I did in school, what really it happened to me is I was already always, you know how when you are learning the unknown, you look at the known. So I was always thinking about culture, what I saw in the village and how I could relate it. If I could relate it well, I was good. I couldn't forget that. And that's what our educational system need a little bit of retuning, because it tried to separate us from our culture, our upbringing. So while it like literature, if you talk about folklores and the different things in literature, all the alliteration, all these literary terms, I would think about my culture because I have it there. Except that we are not doing it, but that was the basis, that was the foundation. So it helped. When I look at networking, computer networking, I mean, that's what we do, except that it's done in a different way and we don't have words for it. To quarantine people, they took it from us. Because if somebody was sick, you know, when you had smallpox those days or leprosy, you were put somewhere. So how people communicated with you? People did that. You know, when they took your food, they certain almost everything we saw in when I was in school, I will always sometimes find an equivalence. So I did not see them as a diminishing. I saw it as building on. So when I'm about to write a paper, and that's where I drew most of the. When I'm writing a paper, when I came here, I came to this. Even though I started university over there, when I came here, I was on refugee. Started university '89, from one refugee camp to the other. Came here 2000. So going to school, started at community college. But when I'm writing a paper, I use my knowledge from back home. If people were writing about something like when we were writing about process essay, I want to do a process of making fufu. And so nobody could compete with me because that was so interesting. So I knew what to do. I always try to build on what I learned in the village, the culture. You talk of integrity. You talk of even the justice system, right? The legal system is from the interior. It's from my village. Because I still remember in my town, it was my father. There were three because the town has three major quarters. So the three persons from those quarters, sometimes they sit in a regular gathering in front of my father's house because they will visit each other. And whatever was decided there, if they went into a bigger meeting, that was it. Almost like the electoral college system here. So these people borrow from us, except that we don't see it. The way we have council of elders, one person did not, the chief alone did not make decision. His decision was based on what he was told by his council, right? It is the corrupt system now that trying to tell us. But if you look deep into what the Western system trying to teach and trying to portray, is the same thing that we learn in the villages, except that when we went to school in Liberia, they told us it was no good, but I knew better to say this is the foundation.
Great. We're going to be going to your book, but we cannot talk to you without talking about your love life. And the person that will start out off, I think it got to be done diplomatic. Mr. Eastman, are you there, Mr. Eastman? Who did this man fall in love with, where and how? And why that particular woman? Can you ask when it comes to love? I don't want to be too brazen. Mr. Eastman, you're the diplomat. How do you ask those kinds of questions?
Okay. How did you find the love of your life, Mr. Ja?
We're on a refugee camp, right? Bishop Mawia started a school called AHEAD. The agency, AHEAD is an acronym, you know. So we started the system. So I was in this school or doing agriculture for a year program. And Dr. Edison Pajibo, who's now or sometimes on this network, he taught me education in that school. So taught education. So it was a 1 year program, and the person who's my wife today was in the same school doing community health. So we had so in the school, like the math, everybody did math. So in that math class, all the groups came together, the different department for one class. And so because at that time I was already teaching high school math, so math like that was basically because people with different background, so it was basic high school math that we're doing in a post-secondary school because everybody doing it. So this is what I was teaching. So in that class, by the time we took the first 2, 3, in fact the instructor said I was exempted from doing the course. So sometimes I would go. So one time they asked, so I went on the chalkboard to solve a problem, and my wife now saw me and said, who this guy solving the math? Because women are always afraid of math. So by the time you do math, everybody think you're so clever. So and then she said she noticed me, and I too had noticed her. And so, but in our culture, it's not good to. So my brother's girlfriend. So because I didn't do anything, right? We were just there in the classroom, and my brother and I and my other brother. We had 3 brothers who were kind of new, so everybody knew that we were there and we were smart. So kind of people started talking about us. And so when I felt that it was a time that I find somebody, and then I discussed this with my brother's girlfriend. He said, "Yeah, I mean, there's a girl I've observed. She lived behind my house, and I think she will be a perfect one for you." I've seen this girl before, and I was kind of attracted, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to rush. And so when the sister-in-law was making the recommendation, coincidentally, it was the same girl. And so the rest is history. We got married in Ghana, and then we met 1997. The chick that will grow into a rooster. Even from the egg, you can spot it. So we met 97. By 98, it was enough. We got married, but it was very simple. Very simple marriage. Went to the court, got married, and then the next day we went to our church. The pastor blessed it. This was 98. And how long it's been now? 25 years, and we're still here.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Wow. So
1 minute. Let me read.
Yeah.
Mr. Eastman, let me reintroduce Mr. Dennis John. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, please share the show. I know today is a big day in sports. This is the first day of the opening NFL. And go Miami Dolphins. We just defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars. Great game. But listen, Mr. John, love story. We talking about your academics, your upbringing, culture, and all that. And that's great. To point out one woman among all the women in the refugee camp, like I said, that rooster, we may have identified that rooster before we're even born. So you did a great job. Mr. Eastman, you were saying something.
Yeah, I was I was there. In fact, I left Pajibo there. I know Pajibo. I left him there. I left it there in 95. And I'm curious because I know the culture on that camp, for you to be so serious, to have gone to the court and to marry this woman, it shows your respect for her. Because most of the people, they were just, what they call play my paper. Well, I don't know what they call it, but they were just living together. But you didn't take that route. You wanted to make it official. I guess that your cultural upbringing instilled that.
I live with my sisters. My sisters read me, right? So when I was living with them, they said the day you're pregnant, somebody, you're going back in the interior to your parents.
Oh, but yeah.
So it's not it's serious stuff.
Yes.
But
so how did both of y'all come to the States? How did that happen?
Right. Thank God for the resettlement system, right? So it's through that we came here one after another. And when we still and this we had all our 3 kids right here. We live in Pennsylvania. Had our 2 kids there. Later on moved to Massachusetts. Had the last one, and then when I felt like I had little more money, I thought I was going to retire, so I came to Georgia. But then not knowing I was beginning life all over.
Wow.
That's
Well,
a joke. I was not retiring.
Mr. Padmore, real quick, talking about the Western culture borrowing from our culture. When our folks, our cousins, we call them the upriver folks, you have something they call what they call a shotgun wedding, huh? Isn't that the same thing? The people in the village say if you pregnant somebody's daughter, you moving, not you wouldn't go in there, but you will move into that village and compensate that person by living there and making sure so you better don't do it. Isn't the same thing that folks is just protecting what they own?
Yeah, you gotta protect the future of your, and you try to build into men, that model of being responsible, So if you treat men, if you treat men, then you'll be man.
That's
But
great.
Mr. John, so we've talked about the past. So let's talk about the future. Where do you see? What's your vision for FOL? Moving forward, where do you see? Where we are right now. Where we'll be 7, 8, 9, 10 years from now.
7, 8, 9, 10 years from now, I want to have a radio and TV station in Monrovia. Not only on the radio, because it's the I don't know if let me put on the screen maybe so this can become a little clearer, right? The vision is to be the most educative and informative media institution that fosters knowledge and curiosity about Liberia. The mission is to create a more enlightened and informed Liberian society that attracts the world. And we're going to do this believing our core value of truthfulness, accuracy, credibility, fairness, and respect. One thing I see in Liberia is high level of, and maybe I want to choose my word carefully, ignorance. I was just listening to one program. Somebody told me, say, no matter how big your followers are, how plenty, you can have 10 to 20,000 followers. You can still be an ignorant person being followed by 10,000 ignorant people. So to really break you see now our culture, where entertainment has taken, the central stage where everybody follow nonsense. I alerted to a network where there is a security briefing to the president, and someone took that with the names of the list of people, and they took that and they put it on TV, and they're reading it, and it's supposed to be news, and you're supposed to be clapped for because you are able to penetrate the. I don't know how you call it, Jimmy, that espionage or what. If you can take the country's security, the briefing, and read on, and we no longer look at things that we held dear as anything anymore. As Pierre Lumumba would say, we kind of celebrate thieves. We glamorize what is ugly. So to be able to penetrate in this society that you want an informed and enlightened society is a tall order. It's a tough job. Who's going to listen to you if you are saying the truth? If you are talking garbage, you got people. So to do that is like to be consistent. So in 10 years, we want to keep doing what we are doing, educating the people. There are so much I've learned on the History Channel. For instance, we thought that the people came and gave these people names, King Peter, Long Peter, not knowing they had those names 100 years before even the settlers came. So a lot of unlearning and learning to do. But if you are doing it, it's not attractive, it's not cool, it's not sexy. But we hope to do that. We want to keep doing that. And we'll do that through not just the radio, but we want to be holding, lecturing series, symposium. We want to also be able to train other journalists to be able to do things. that at the end of the day, people will know Liberia better. The ignorance is going to go away a little bit. Because sometimes the ignorant is not among people that don't know much, it's among people that know a lot. Because they're ignorant, so they hold on to, because they are ashamed to say, well, what I believe for the last 10 years is not true. Let me get away from that. So they hold on to that. We are ashamed to go to somebody and say, well, Mr. Patmo knows this, so let me ask him. No. So because of that, our core is to educate people. If Liberians are enlightened, if Liberians can make choices, better choices based on what we teach, I'll be a happy person.
Great.
So yeah, so that's where I want to go.
Mr. Jai, when your father duty calls and your son is ready, let us know. You can go. But before we transition to our next subject here, what you were saying makes sense. This morning, a friend sent me a video of a gentleman by the name of Prophet Key in Monrovia. And this man was in Monrovia and saying, with lots of people. And he said, honor clothes or honor clothes. I'm paraphrasing. Honor clothes or honor clothes. And all the women say, honor clothes. And I'm sitting there and I said, are you kidding me? This man is saying honor clothes, women honor clothes, and you're then in unison, all the women, I mean, beautifully dressed. Some of them look intellectual, some of them look business, but they are women. I mean, in chorus, singing abusive language to themselves. If you were talking about ignorance, I don't know what degree that I can ascribe to these women. When the man said, don't mind me, I cuss them, but my Mercedes Benz, my BMW I bought, they paid for it for me. My most money I raised from the women. So when you're talking about ignorance, it has become, Tolo used to say it was a disease. It has become an epidemic now in our society, that if you are not cussing and you're not doing these things, then you are not, maybe back when you didn't go to school or you didn't do anything, we say you are a square. That, I'm trying to kind of date myself here. I'm way back now. There you were square. Mr. Jai, before we transition, can you touch on the absurdity of what's happening here to our women in particular?
Yeah, I mean, people say it's the war, right? You know, when the war was coming to Monrovia, the diplomat said, if the war enters Monrovia, it will take 100 years to rebuild. And we were thinking mainly of infrastructure, that things were going to be destroyed, but not knowing it was the fabric of society. You know, the war has produced, you know, a kind of generation, like people in power, is a lot of them, people that, you know, they didn't really go to school, but they managed to get a degree. They are afraid of other people with solid education, and they want to keep on to that power, so they will do whatever it takes. And these people, they even if it costs to get some young people and make sure they continue to be ignorant so that they can sing their praises, they will do that. And so in the process, we have a lot of young, I mean, I saw there was this other politician, he's not in power now, and he's celebrating his birthday, and I see thousands of people. I mean, it's good to celebrate your birthday, but Jimmy and Gaiman and Joseph, I mean, the one we call normal days, like, when will you see that? And the politician is celebrating birthday and the streets are filled with people to celebrate that, because that's the time they will have something to eat. And you use that to indoctrinate, to brainwash, and just talk complete garbage. And people swallow it. So maybe it's the war. I want to blame it on the war. And I wrote on my blog before, I called Nobody's Home. You know, when it just like during the trans-Saharan slave trade, where the strong, the most energetic men, they were taken away, and so they left behind the weak, the old people. And one guy broke how Europe underdeveloped Africa. That was his argument. And the same thing happened. I mean, if you look now, almost every family member, maybe the gem in that family, the cream, is out of the country somewhere. So every family, because the family is the basic unit, so just think about that. The most enlightened person, or the most educated, or the person who normally will keep the family together, that person is gone out of the country, either in Europe, America, Canada, Australia, somewhere, leaving behind, people that don't care. And so if you put all that together, we have a country now where a lot of the people, need a little bit of education, a little bit of home training, a little bit of something. And somebody can be maybe arguing about a cup of water, and the next time is fighting, and somebody can die. People use to waste water on us, in their car. This time you do it now, is death. They will grab you and kill you right there.
Wow.
So things are just that way. And what scares me is things don't seem to get better. Things just getting worse when it comes to how people behave and how we approach things, the education, the understanding. If people were employing their relative, that is not going down. It's getting more and more. So the very fabric, talk about all the shows. There was somebody who was on Focus on Liberia, and they were doing something right. They said, well, I'm leaving, I'm going somewhere where, because you guys don't allow me to curse. So the person went somewhere to another person was doing a show here. He said, I'm in so much straight jacket, so I'm not getting viewers. I want to be somewhere where, the fries and the G's, things that are unconfirmed, you can assassinate other people's character. And that's fine because it's going to bring viewers. So that's where we are now. And it still got few people that can be that lone voice. And that's why I'm hopeful.
Excellent.
That it's going to get better one day.
Mr.
Great.
Gibman,
Before you go,
for like
1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute. You got next. After Mr. Taiwo coming, Mr. Ja, I'm going to have Mr. Padua ask you your opinion on our first number one, which is President Boakai's trip to Asia. We discussed that. And then after that, Mr. Taiwo going to take on number two, which is the legislature suspend the budget. But before we do that, Mr. Taiwo, go ahead real quick for your 30 seconds, because I want to ask you about the civic duty. He wrote about it. We want to touch on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, gentlemen, and to all the Liberian people, and all of us that here, we are old enough, we are living in Liberia. Even I don't remember much of the Turbo era, but I knew that things were normal. We ate, things were fine, and then when Doe came in, things were going down, but it was not so bad. Things were normal. The parents could work. In any society where the socio-economic structure is turned upside down, parents are supposed to take care of their young children, right, to raise them. But if you have a society in which the parents lose that position, like in Liberia, where the children are the one not going to come and take care of the parents, the parent can have all the good advice. Children usually really not going to listen to a parent that they're taking care of. Because I was in Liberia after the war, and then I went back there and I started to observe. So this is what you are seeing. This is what we are seeing in Liberia. When the social structure switch upside down, where the children are taking care of the parent, what are you going to say to them? That, oh, you're going over there and you're stealing, or you're sleeping with all those men? They just brought you a bag of rice, and now you are eating. They just put zinc on your house, and now your room not leaking anymore. So what we are seeing here is that a messed up governing system that take away, that not creating opportunities for the youth. Once that is the case, a friend was saying, all the girls, they're prostituting and all this stuff. He came from the US here. So was sitting at a place. I said, look at those beautiful young ladies. In America, you can't even talk to them. If the economic system was different, they wouldn't even speak to you. So this is what we have. And so it should be our job for us to do our best from every area. That is why I hold the US group, the diaspora group, so responsible that they go over there, they join, they loot the country, they come back here. Something must be done so the socio-economic condition of our people can be changed. That is the only thing that will flip that country back over. It doesn't, no matter how much teaching you can give, it's always about bread and butter. After you teach them all this stuff, then they're hungry. Then they can't go to school. They don't have a place to sleep. All that teaching will go out the window.
Thank you. Mr. Ja, real quick in your book here, let's talk about a particular passage you talk about. You say the nation's praise songs. You talk about praise songs. The praise songs are basically an announcement to the world declaring that it was free from physical control by other nations or institutions. But a few days ago, we saw the article in Liberia from Mr. Vanderlag Patrick's, where he said the LDEA is being run by a gentleman who is a full-time employee of the U.S. Embassy, and this was confirmed. So here he is saying we cannot claim independence when our nation is being co-run by the colonialists. Touch on that, then we go on to our local politics. But this was very important when I read it. When we sing these songs like the national anthem, all of these things, declaring our independence, nobody gonna control us. And then just before I scheduled for this article came out and it was confirmed that yes, the gentleman, Mr. Peters, is a full-time employee agent of the U.S. Embassy. How he got appointed to running our LDEA is now a serious question in Liberia. Our independence, our praise song, Mr. Ja.
Right. I mean, that's a different issue that Patrick is raising. I've not read the article because I mean, to say country is run by colonialists, I don't believe that. I believe Liberians. I think the reason that if he's not qualified or if he's not supposed to be there, the reason that got him there is not because of America. Somebody appointed him. Maybe somebody didn't do the proper vetting. So really, I don't think it has much to do with America or colonialism or anything of that sort.
Mr. Padmore, it has been confirmed that Mr. Peter Works is a full-time employee of the U.S. State Department at the embassy and now a full-time employee of the Liberian government running the LDA.
Well, I've not been able to confirm that. But we'll know. If that is the case, it's strange. But then again, what is strange in Liberia? Because
is the understanding that America put him there? Is that
no? It's just making a connection. Then how can you be employed with the State Department and then you LTA, and so from there they're taking 2 + 2 and they're making 5 or 8. They inserting their own link that
making that quantum leap.
Definitely must be a double agent. I mean, it is what it is.
People double dip all the time. If
Mr. Eastman, let's look at the question number 1 here. I know the CEO had
watching our time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go to number 1 there, Mr. Eastman. Can you ask that question? Let's delve into it. Question number 1.
Question number 1. All right, I will ask the question number 1. So let me get it's in the chat, right?
Yeah. Yes. It's about to scroll at the bottom too.
Okay. While you reading it, let Mr. Padmore do that. You do number 2, Mr. Padmore. Take on number 1.
What about you? So the first question was concerning the president's travel to the southeast. President Boakai took 50-man, and the number they still counting. It might be more, or 50-man delegation to the southeast, mainly China. And now we are hearing all type of numbers coming up, some going into the billion. I remember during our past president, that was one of the things that a lot of people are concerned about, his international travel and the number of people he would take with him and what he would bring back and the cost analysis for it and all those things. So it's interesting that we are still talking about this. So, Mr. Ja, you heard about the president's trip to the southeast. He went to Indonesia, and then he left there, and he went to China. And this is immediately after the July 26th oration, where our orator encouraged our president to seek new friends. And now we are hearing about $100 million here, $30 billion there. What's your take on that?
Right, and Mr. Padmore, let's put it in our house situation. Hold on 1 second. let's take our own household, right? If you, Mr. Patmo, if you leaving your house to go somewhere and go look for money, whether you alone go or whether you and your wife or the children or you bring all your cousin, your go. I mean, there's an underlying problem there already, right? You are not able to feed yourself. You're going outside to borrow, right? So my thing with it is not, and it's not with just this government. Even the mentality that when the president goes out, that we expect to say, "What you bring?" It means we're hungry at home. It means something is already wrong.
Yep.
Right? What are you going for? Okay. What many leaders have not been able to do is when you get in power, you do what we will say the review of the system to see what the issues are and see how you can solve them. I mean, it may sound very simplistic because I've never been in government before, but if we can identify what is it that we want to do and how can we do it and communicate that to the people. But to go outside, let's say even if one person wins and you go ask China for 80 billion, it's still a problem, right? And now we have a situation where after the war, people are, because before the war, people were making, representatives were making like $300, $400, even up to the time of President Sawyer, it was still that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
The problem started, or this thing started with President Salif.
Yeah.
But even at that, we're still going out. I mean, going out, going ask people, going do. I mean, what is there first that we're going to add on? You can't go beg somebody, then you beg for your children, you beg for yourself, you beg for your auntie, you beg for your right. So for me, I'm not even looking at it like they're taking delegation, they're doing it, but what is driving these kind of things? What is it that we want to accomplish for our nation? What is it that we want to build? Now you go somewhere, they say we give you refinery, and they say beggar got no choice, right? So whatever they give you, you take it. You don't have your own agenda. If we can clearly define what is it that we want and how we get there, and then you rally the nation behind you, this is what we're going to do.
Thank you.
Maybe we can get the money from Sanquin, where our friend Sam Wallow grandfather came from. Because there's enough money in the country and things that we can do. I was telling him, I told someone, I said, when I become superintendent of Sunday, the first thing I would do, we will find a land, let's say 10 acres of land, so that each of you here, we make sure we have a bank where you send your money to get your own 3-bedroom house. That may seem basic, right? Mm-hmm. But let's say if we inside maybe a 3-bedroom, you can even use 10,000 to build that. I know a friend in Bonga, in Bon County, used 5,000 to build a house because she used some local materials.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things we can, but it is that we are not really looking inside. And when I put on my pastor hat, when God met Moses, Moses was having a stick. So he asked Moses, what is it in your hand? Moses did not know that stick in his hand could turn to a snake and swallow other snakes. Mm-hmm. So we are not even looking in our own hand, we're just going. Because we are our appetite for other people's money is so sharp. But at the same time, the one we get, we're not managing it well. So why, even if we get 3 billion, because the one that we're hearing now being misappropriated is almost at that same level. So if you will bring 50 million and still people steal it, what's the point? So I think that's what we really need to look at, redefine our national priorities and how to approach them, and see who has the expertise to do what. There are certain things we can do or this person can do that we don't even ask them, and we're going away. So I think that's the problem. It's not just this president. This is how our economy has been now. Oh, what the UN say? What the IMF? I don't know. You guys can see IMF or World Bank people here? I don't see them.
They're here in Washington, D.C.
I mean, politicians. The real economists of those people are on Wall Street. And we still and we really think they will advise us to do what is right, that will jolt our economy and we'll be on par with them? No. They exist so that they can, because if we are self-sufficient, maybe they don't have jobs. So they just keep doing that. structural adjustment. They will advise us, do structural adjustment, fire people, do this one, 17 experts, and we are still to the same place. So there got to be something else. I don't know what that is, but it got to be something else.
Mr. Taiwo, you got any question for Mr. Jai on the trip issue? Any question, any concerns? Mr. Taiwo is frozen. Mr. Taiwo, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Any question, concern for Mr. Jai on the China trip?
No, really, I don't have any question. He already spoke to that. But what I wanted to point out to what he just said is that, Mr. Jai, all your points are very good. Having a national agenda based on where you want for the country to go and rally the people behind it. And me and you, we have not been in government. I think you've done some work, like studying. Like I spent a lot of time looking at it, like the way the nation states were created. That is the loop that the nation states were created. When they were created, they were bankrupt. It's like somebody put you in a house, in your house, and then your food out in your refrigerator, they put a lock on there with all of this stuff, and they say they lay claim to it, and before you eat, you can't eat unless you get permission from them. So that's where we are. So going out is always going to happen unless the mentality change.
Yeah, I want to speak to that.
It's not a bad thing to go out, right?
Uh-huh.
But I mean, when you go, even America, they go out. But what is it that you're going out for? Are you going to negotiate fair trade deals, or are you just going to say, "Y'all give me, y'all give me"? You know,
that's what the problem is. Yeah, that's what the problem. That's what the problem.
Mr. Jai, real quick, when I think maybe Mr. Eastman or Patmo can charm me. After the first meeting in South Korea, the E-Mansion said that they were told to come back and develop a proposal, exactly what you talk about, the plan. Now they move over to China, and the Chinese news, the Chinese government put out a list of the amount they are giving to Africa, and they listed the countries that they are giving this money to. We are not one of those countries. All of a sudden, we see this thing. I don't know whether it was a news conference or what, but those people are that, if you went on the E-Mansion and saw the video, whether these people were not representing the Chinese government, they were not representing China. The gentleman said he represents some country called CMAC. And
my sound game is over now, so I gotta go. But whatever they represent, right? Let us. It's really not so important, right? But what is it that we want? What are we negotiating for? Are we talking to these people like equal? We got all countries. You have superpower. You have these people. They will always look out for their interest. But if you go like like you are kind of somebody described the picture when President Boakai and the Chinese president met. He said that showed like a position of submission. You're not even looking in the man's face, right? You want to be submissive to. If we would treat other people, we would treat people like that, they will always look at us like, because these people are looking out for their own interests. What is it that you are looking at? And nobody's going to give you anything free. It's never going to be. When they give you something, they want something back. What is it that we are discussing? What is it that they are getting back? And how fair that is. We saw where, the Firestone deal and all these things. We know where they took us. So at this time now, let's look within ourselves. We can go out. It's always good. But what is it that we are taking to the table?
Great.
Thank you.
With that, we have a short video here we want to show real quick. Hopefully we don't get penalized. Can we show that video that says tattoo? Thank you very much. We want to say in English, we want to say in Bassa, we want to say in anything else, but we want to say in your own vernacular, something that you understand. Say tattoo. Can we play that real quick?
Before you play, I just want to say thank you because I'm leaving now. To say that in my village they say no matter how something give it never fill your stomach. If you ask people, give me that give is never going to fill you up. Go make your own damn farm.
That's correct. If you know potato will fill your stomach, go and grow potato. That's correct.
Mr. Gentlemen, thank you so much for this time.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Let's do this quite often, right?
Yes.
You know,
yes.
I'm like a drum. I never talk until I'm slapped.
Good.
So you guys slapped me and you got me talking, but I appreciate it. God willing, I'll be back.
We'll continue to beat that drum. Can you play that video real quick, please?
All right.
We'll continue to beat that drum.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We will continue to beat that drum. Guys, thank you very much for the song. It says, Tato, thank you, Lord, thank you. I want to thank you. Thank the Lord for Mr. Dennis Jah. I want to thank Mr. Padmore. I want to thank Mr. Eastman, Mr. Taiwo, because in our Liberian community, we are not known for supporting each other. Everybody wants to have their own talk show because we don't support each other. So when Padmore made a commitment, Mr. Eastman made a commitment, Mr. Taiwo came, it tells me that we are getting somewhere. Collectively, we are getting somewhere. We cannot, everybody cannot be, when you go to Bassa, and we got all Bassa people here, and what the man named Mr. Jack Klein said the same thing. I don't know why these Bassa people don't put 5 towns together, and you got a big town, but every time you go to, they got 5 people there. One guy is the chief. So when the rebel came, they took over Bassa in one day. There ain't no fighter there. He said, but they didn't want to go to Nima or Bom, where the towns are 500 to 1,000 people. So this is what we are saying. Yes, we need to support each other. We know Mr. Padmore can have his own show. We know Mr. Taiwo can have his own show. We know Mr. Eastman can have his own show. But collectively, we can do better. Now, Mr. Padmore, let's look at this. How is this even possible? Is it plausible deniability? Is it possible that you went to ask for budgetary support and someone tells you we will build oil refinery in Bassa where there's no connection to oil? I don't know where they're going to get the oil from when they take the oil from China and bring it there. So we know that this was pure fabrication. It makes no sense. It's another big distraction to come up with these things. That the HPX thing, they said $5 billion contract. It was going to bring like 10,000 jobs, and we were celebrating February 28th, 2024. And I told you on this show, February 23rd, 2025, we will still be here talking about HPS. Nothing's going to happen. Now we got oil refinery, $100 million. By the way, $100 million cannot do anything when it comes to paving road. When it's $1.2 to $1.5 million a mile, that means the whole trip, the $100 million go to only about 50 to 60 miles. Mr. Padmore, your take.
Thank you, Mr. Gamer. Look, 7 months ago, the government assigned $22 million, which is about 20% of what they're boasting about, just for the rainy season to keep roads pliable. If you got $22 million to spend on rainy season, why are you celebrating $100 million? I don't understand. Or is that because it comes from somewhere else? If you got $22 million to spend on rainy season, but you're celebrating, they get $100 million. What $100 million with that 5 rainy season? So now for 5 rainy season, we okay? You know, it's look, I will say this. One of the worst things that happened to Liberia is the donor community after the war. It changed the perspective of Liberian economics. Totally. Since the war in the United Nations and all these people came to Liberia, it's like we lost the ability to think. All we want to do right now is a rare proposal. That's our life. Rare proposal. Go look for money outside there. As if to say people don't have things to do with their own money. You know, we're not even offering anything. We're talking about feeding ourselves. How about you take 30 billion and put in agriculture and change the whole agricultural landscape of Liberia? You said no, we'll go build oil refinery. You want to run oil refinery? I swear, God. You know, it just boggles my mind. It boggles my mind that we like, and we're celebrating it. But then again, like you said, when you go big, you know, you're not gonna, when you can't pay me for food, you're not gonna, I'm gonna what's I cook, or that they want you leg, or why you cook potato green and let potato. No, if you let potato green and cook a salad, like a salad you eat, you know, and that's what we are being given right now. You know, it's sad, it's deplorable, it's you know, the fact that we just sit at home and Papa going again, what think Papa will bring for us, you know, and we're sitting home. We're sitting home. We're not making farm. We're not looking at industry. We're not trying to find a way to put Liberians together to develop different sort of commerce. They're waiting for Papa to go big. You know, in Liberia right now, if you're not employed, which is 85% of the population, in the morning you wake up, you put your trousers on, you go to town, you go hustle. That word hustle means to go big. Hopefully, you borrow one of your friends that working in some kind of ministry or some kind of business that maybe you went to school with. They'll give you some kind of 1,000 liberty or something like that. You bring that one home. So we are taking this now and made it actually a governmental structural policy. You know, and it's sad, and we're not going nowhere with that. We're not going anywhere with that. I don't care how much money China give us. We haven't even started talking about whether it's a loan, whether it is a grant, how are we going to pay it back? We're sitting there running around talking about MOU and $30 billion. It's depressing. It's depressing. And that's what we need. New leadership. The 47-year government, 80-year-old man is not going to work for Liberia. We need new, inspiring leadership, progressive, with innovative ideas and stuff like that to actually move our country forward. And we don't have that, and we're not going to have it in the next 6 years.
Right. Mr. Eastman, Mr. Padmore touched on something there. The young congressman from South Africa, I think his name is Malema, he made it clear before the elections, he spoke to Africans. He said, Africa should desist from electing old folks, people who have no interest in the future. They are in their future. It's not like a young man who says, I got the next 20 years, my reputation, my children, all of that. These people got no stake in the future. So here we are with Joseph Boakai. If you listen to what Mr. Gonglo just wrote, he was a strong supporter of the president. That everything that has to do with the Constitution, the rule of law, transparency, you name it, this president had deliberately violated everything. Mr. Eastman.
Where do you start? Liberia needs a change. We need to be productive in ourselves. We need to be more honest and filled with integrity. But those things we're talking about has to have direct relationship to your culture. If you notice, Mandingo people in Liberia are doing much better. They are the merchants, even the Fulas. Fulas are very wealthy. Why? Because their culture tells them how to behave, to do business. What you hit it on the nail just now. What has been inbred in our culture is begging. I can even remember when the thing started at one time. It was the first war. And I took a peek inside. I went there. I said, "My man, how you managing?" He said, "My man, you just go, you see your friend and he try to help you. That's how we managing here. Because those days, nobody was getting paid. There was nothing. That was before all those NGOs started coming. So our culture now, one of the things is to beg. The other one is to not be genuine. Everybody wants to be minister, head this organization, head this plan, and they don't know how to do it. But they won't be paid for it. And there's no penalties. I went to a meeting. We wanted to do the digitization of the Liberian government. I went to a meeting and they didn't want to. We were just supposed to talk about what are the things you need if you're going to do this digitalization. We ain't even talking about contract, nothing of the kind. They do not want certain people around them. Only for that whole project to collapse. I'm like, what? You don't even know how to start. You don't even want to listen to somebody will tell you this is the thing you need, this is the thing you need, this is what you need before you even get started. So there's something with our culture that we have to change. And I agree with Mr. Padman. We need a dynamic, a leader who wants to change our culture. I'd rather see Mr. Tao go there. Because Mr. Tao, he wants to change that culture out there. He doesn't believe in what's going on there. But to have somebody go there and they're repeating the things in 1945, that's what we're doing. You're doing the same thing we used to do way back. That's about. You think this is any kind of serious? You go into somewhere, you see you're negotiating. You don't have no projects. You have not done your homework. You have not solidified your industry that made it ready. You just go in there, big, please can't do this thing for us. It doesn't work. We have to have a change. We have to have a can-do attitude. We have to do for ourselves before people will do for us, and it requires a change of culture. The only thing I can see Boakai can do is to talk to people, to change their mindset of how they do things, how they outlook. Talk to the people. We have to be able to bootstrap. We have to be able to do some things on our own, Instead of us passing around and seeing the dirt in Monrovia, can't we clean some of that dirt on our own? Can we get some trucks, government supply trucks, and we think a lot of it they were cleaning up for the inauguration. Why they can't continue that sort of thing? We do things for ourselves. And that's where I see the greatest thing. We have become a different people. Who was saying that when no NGO came out the worst thing? Well, yes, the NGOs allow people to get $20,000 a month because it wasn't our money, so to say. And if you know how all of these organizations work, they know what they're getting when they're paying you $20,000. They're from Germany or they're from wherever they are. They know what they're getting in return. These things have a lot of smoke and mirrors. I don't want to go into it on this kind of show yet. But they work in a very particular way, okay? And some people getting more than I let 20,000. They're not just giving you that 20,000. They know what they're getting when they give you that 20,000. So we can address it. I was talking just the other day. Yeah, okay, the salaries will carry way up. Okay, why haven't you addressed it since then? We are trying to address it, but you still see, people making $15,000 a month. Okay, now, but at Boakai time, address it again, adjust it down. Maybe gradually, if we gradually do it, we'll fix it. I believe this administration can be very strategic if they want to, but it will have to have strong back because the people know what I want to do to change. But they can do it if they have the political will.
Great, Mr. Tao. Mr. Wallow is concerned here that people thought the president wasn't coming home with anything, and he didn't bring anything, but he brought MOU, and now we are shifting the goalpost. You think the MOU, we should celebrate our MOU. This is the level we have gotten to.
Yeah. So look at what happened here. I look at this completely differently. I am concerned. You know, first I will address something really quick. That how you call it, LRA something, that group, that guy that's supposed to be linked with the US embassy, working there and then working somewhere else.
Yeah,
And when you
LTEA.
mention it, everybody try to shift around it. And I notice this all the time. Nobody wants to really address. This is the problem that I have with the diaspora group. Everybody that is from the diaspora that dominated the government for 18 years and 19 years now this year, they're all double agents of the US or of Britain or France. You don't have to, you're not calling to a meeting for them to say you're a double agent. The US don't recognize dual citizenship. Forget about all the other passports that you will hold. You swear allegiance to the United States and you serve their interest. So, Mr. Gaiman, what that person said, if you hold a US passport, you go to Liberia, you're a senator. When Uncle Sam call on you and say, HPX is coming in, I need, and you have top people like Finlay, them that live here, that probably hold document that went to school here, and all these guys, and they said, this is what we want, that is what you're going to do. This is where we find ourselves. That is why, in order for Liberia to actually really move forward, I'm here too. What we can do, if we have the technical skills, what we're supposed to develop local capacity, then we learn. Then they become the policy makers. Then we learn technical support. Like to say, Mr. Eastman from telecommunication, he can bring the ideas. Look, this is what, and you can do that. But the group from here, we are tied. I just want to clarify because everybody want to kind of move around it. And the person who wrote that, they're right. They're right. These powers, what is China, what is the United States that is strongly influential in Liberia, they are not joking. You are living in this country and you are watching. The US, the Western empire led by the US, they're fighting for their life. You are living in an era where you see power shift is taking place, where the Western domination is diminishing and Asia is rising led by China. This is a real battle, and the last battle will be fought in Africa. Their positioning, as we are saying, as we are speaking now, they're opening all kinds of bases. The Europeans led by the US, they are already redistrict boundary Africa off. You see, people are not following these things in collaboration with the Arabs in the north. What you call the Sahel that you keep hearing about, that is where the new border of Africa is supposed to be. So that when the destabilization of Africa really take hold, the Arab, Gaddafi was there, he was doing it. They were paying $5 billion for him to make sure that as Africa gets destabilized, they don't run through there and they will arrest them, they'll be killing them. You think all the boats are just sinking? Every time the boat sink and the boat is not seaworthy, no, they're being sunk. Nyerere gave this speech. That was his last speech in the parliament of South Africa. He said, Africa south of the Sahara, we are on our own. South is from the Sahel down. He said, Mexico sit near a superpower. North Africa sit near Europe. No matter how difficult it is, going to try and do their best to make sure that the place is stable to a good extent, because if there is any destabilization, there will be an upward mobility. But Africa south of the Sahara, we sit by the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, and all these oceans, and we can't run into the ocean. We can only get internally displaced. He gave this speech. These were visionaries. These were people who were never even allowed to implement stuff. So we are looking at it. Now for me to come to this, have you heard the term that was coined here in Washington, D.C. and in the conceptual West called humanitarian imperialism? It is around humanitarian imperialism that all the civil wars sprung out in Africa south of the Sahara. You bring in the civil because coup happened right in Monrovia or in Accra. You even in Satan, you don't even know yet here feel gone. The social economic structure stay intact. So the civil war was meant to uproot, destroy, weaken the entire social economic structure. Then guess what? Then now, hey, they are suffering. The NGOs come as agents, whether they come from China, whether they come from the US, they come as agents of these people to implement the policy. What the missionary movement did during the colonization, they came, they brought you a God. The God didn't look like you. The God is a man that had a son with no wife, something that is very strange to you. Once you accepted that and they pacify you, what happened? The military came. Then what? The industries came. And before you knew, you were in chains. But that missionary thing, the God thing, they are preached so much is old. So now they're coming in with the NGO. The NGO just replaced the missionary movement. Okay. Now, because I wanted to give that, because we have to put these things in context. We have our own thought, but we have to look at what is going on. Now, let's come to the Boakai stuff. Why are we making this a big issue? Is it because Boakai went to China and then he said that he received money from there? Or is it that because it's coming from China? Because we have to understand here, our interest, the West interest is not our interest. Because they've made it to seem that anything about them is a global issue. They fought tribal war, they say world war. They started to franchise the war, they started naming it 1 and 2. Then they keep threatening 3. Boakai will receive money all the time from IMF. Almost every 2 or 6 months. 30 million, 20 million. Why don't we complain about it? But you see, we have been told that when it comes from them, it's okay. So my problem is not where the money is coming from. If we got some money or we got some investment, the critical thing here is when we're going there, what is our position? What are we bringing to say this is what we want and this is what we can do in return? That should be the critical area. I went ahead today and went on the IMF website. IMF, World Bank, African Development Bank is just another branch of the World Bank, IMF, by the way, and they place it in Africa. I went there. From the time Ellen came to power to 2020, Liberia owed them in the tune of $1 billion. That is the amount of money that they claim, I should use that word, that Liberia got from them that we owe. Show me the actual reality of what $1 billion did in Liberia. Nobody can point it out. In that same time frame, Liberia got a loan of $54 million from China in terms of funding other stuff, and some of them were gifts. And I can point out many things, actual, tangible things. So the point I'm making here is you can see the airport, you can see the Buchanan Road, you can see the road from Red Light to Ganta, you can see the University Center, the Ministerial Center. I'm not saying this stuff to be a China supporter. Anybody, I don't support nobody. But we have to be realistic. We have to be able to look at our own interest. Where can we benefit? The West have no desire to develop you. So what happened? Do we go and say, you know what? We're only going to go to the West. And what the West gave you, human right, democracy, all the stuff, they quantify that you can't really, is not tangible. All the major companies here in America that we live started to make profit when they engaged China. All the Europeans are climbing over each other, going Volvo, we're going out of business. BMW, not BMW, but BMW are going out of business until they engage China. They are not profitable. Even Musk is supposed to be the largest stuff. Where did he engage? So it's not where we engage in what type of government. Let's forget about all the semantics. It doesn't matter. A system that can benefit us as a people. That is what we should be concerned about. So the goal here should be, what is the Boakai government doing with respect to what they bring? And what can, if we get $100 million in terms of, it's not, we should take this thing away that they gave. Nobody gave nobody money. These are other loans and their commitments. Because I keep hearing World Bank give Liberia $40 million for salary stuff and give them. Nobody giving anybody anything. So for me, this is how I look at it. So let us not make a major issue out of this because he went to China. Yes, what comes from there, the details of that they're building oil refinery, I know that's not possible. unless they pumpkin oil that when they process all the stuff, then they process the pumpkin oil over there. Maybe.
Mr. Padmore, Miss, this is funny. I think when I started on this show, I get it by some parable where the father came and told the children and the family that this coming Christmas, I'm going to kill a goat for the family. And he left it. 2 days later, he came. There was a big fight in the family. So he called the family. What happened? He said, I want a good head. The other one say, I want a good leg. The other one say, I want a tail. So they said, what goat? So you remember you said you promised you were going to bring the goat in during Christmas time? We finished dividing the goat. That's what we are doing here. Mr. Waller is naming all these MOUs that will come in the future. He said one here, Joseph Boakai said $30 million they will create thousands of jobs in the future. They go here, you won't kill it here. The Christmas income, we kill it, go there, you're fighting over the tail, the head, the feet. Mr. Waller, Mr. Padmore, can you educate us that MOU means absolutely nothing? Can you tell us what MOU is?
You're muted.
Basically, an MOU is only stating that we will discuss this. That's all. That's all it says. You know, like for example, your son comes downstairs. He said, "Oh, Dad, school about to open. I need whole new closet." And you're working. You stop for a second. You say, "We'll discuss this." That's an MOU right there.
So you mean I can't go and start jumping and say my father going to give me brand new car?
You better not go to your old clothes and throw away. You better hold on to your old clothes. Because all I say is, we'll discuss this. Whether you will buy clothes or not has not been decided. How much clothes we'll buy, if we buy clothes, has not been decided. How much money I will contribute and how much money I spend for you to contribute has not even been decided. Whether we'll even get back to this again has not even been decided. All I said to you is, we will discuss this. That's an MOU. Memorandum of Understanding. Okay? I want this. You have this. I want for you to give me this. That's the understanding. We'll write it down. Okay, we'll table this. Let's go to the next topic. That's all it is. And people running around celebrating. You know, I think one of the saddest things about Liberia is that we've allowed politics to blind even the simplest thought process, you know? And so people are so eager to show progress from this government that they just grasp at anything, you know? And usually that happens when you don't have a plan. You don't have a purpose. You don't have a roadmap. Then you can sit down and say, look, my people, this is the roadmap. This is what we want to do. And here is the roadmap. And the first year is not going to be easy. We're only going to be engaging people. We're only going to be talking people. We're only going to be trying to set up some sort of plan. It is going into the second tier year that we will start to do something. But that's why Joseph Boakai can confidently get in and say, well, in the first 3 months, no car will get stuck in the mud. I mean, this is the process. Instead of laying out a plan and say, look, we have roads. Our roads are bad, especially during the rainy season. They get even worse. They get impassable. This is our plan. This is how we are going to attack this problem. It's not going to take 1 year, 2 years, but we are hopeful between now and the 5th year or the 4th year, we can eradicate that problem or we can reduce that problem to this much. No, there's no plan. There's nothing to show for it. They say, okay, we'll take $22 million and we'll throw it at the problem. And hopefully it will work. And now we're seeing the pictures. And, nope. All of a sudden, nobody wants to discuss the pictures that we are finding with cars being stuck in the mud. Everybody just hoping it's September. Because you know, dry season starting in October. So other than they're holding the hand. One more month, then we'll start showing picture again. I mean, this is how low we have become all based on politics. So this is why a sound man like Sam Wolo will come in here and start talking about $20 million for real estate MOU, for estates, hotels, amusement parks. $20 million, but all that is getting in. Look, when I was younger, estates didn't surprise Liberian people. The Liberian government, they built Stephen Tower Estate, they built New Jersey Estate, they built Bonneville Estate, they built Cabra Estate. I mean, these are the old folks.
Yeah.
When the Liberian budget was less than $500 million, we're building estates and we're giving it to our young people and say, you know what? If you come here, you pay the rent every month for 25 years, you own it. And young people getting out of Konola, getting out of KRTTI, getting out of BWI, all these technical young Liberians, and coming to look for work. That's where they bought their first house with their young wife and a young child, and they raised a family. This was a thought process. And 50 years later, we're acting like we see estate before. They're saying, well, look, I thought that thing. It's supposed to be jumping because somebody here estate. It's sad. We need to move away from politics. We need to move away from politics and start thinking right about our country and how to do this. Joseph Boakai not running for president anymore. He's not running for a second term. Why you guys running as if to say you're running campaign for next term? Or is there something that we don't know?
Listen, Mr. Padmore, I live in Florida where we know about parks and hotels. $20 million wouldn't even get you a foundation for anything, not even a house. Talk about parks. A few weeks ago, Mr. Eastman, we were here. The Unity Party people had a fake photo of Elon Musk and Joseph Boakai, and they ran with that Elon Musk is going to supply his satellite over the whole country, and we don't need this. We don't. Mr. Eastman, you've been in the technology. This won't be beyond propaganda. This is pure nonsense. Mr. Eastman.
Just what and Padmore said, soon if the people discuss one idea, we know that Elon Musk has these satellite communication that he runs certain places in South Africa, certain places. I want to tell you, it's very expensive. I don't know if you can even afford to use it. But the idea that you're discussing becomes, we're bringing this. You'll discuss oil refinery. We're bringing oil refinery. I don't understand why are we rushing? Why we can't see something come to concrete? We so want. I understand maybe they so want this administration to succeed simply because they backed it. But if they wanted to succeed, they should go to work because it requires for it to succeed. It's going to require work, and that is what I see that a lot of our brothers and sisters don't understand, that to make this thing successful requires knowledge and work. And you don't bring anybody with the knowledge and work, but you think it's going to work. So you think somebody will do this for you while you sit back and draw the salary. It is a funny phenomenon. It's a funny phenomenon, but I'm willing to see if Joseph Boakai will go in another direction, because right now we see all that thing that going on. It's all looking funny, but let me tell you one thing I have seen. I saw that man lead Cummings on until they let him down. I saw that man lead Costa on until he let him down. I saw that man lead Uri on until they let him down. That man, when he get ready, he will change on a dime. So let's see how this thing will turn out. I'm really curious.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome Honorable Larry Nyankwe from our great thinker from, I think, Nimba County, professor, teacher. You know him. He was very, very astute in the house. and we want to welcome him to the show. Thank you very much. And on a sad note, somebody that I interacted with briefly, our condolences to the Tolbert family for the death of Richard Tolbert, one of the brilliant young men that I met. He was educated at Harvard and then Columbia Law. I met him briefly when he was on Wall Street in New York. He went home, and from what we gather, Mr. Patmore, I don't know if you know anything more about it, but it was a great loss to our country.
Yeah, I mean, it is indeed, it's always admirable when professionals try to go back home, and do what they little they can. And so when these things happen, it is sad, sad for the Tolbert family, and stuff like that. But he was a great dude, and like I said, hopefully other Liberians who have been in diaspora for a protracted number period of time won't turn their backs. These are people that have every reason to turn their back on Liberia, every reason, and they did not, So Liberia has given a lot to us, so it is sad, but at the same time, hopefully other people who have become professionals and technocrats in America will find their way back to Liberia to give their own 2 cents to this nation that we love so much. Please, I want to just please watch the time now, because we.
Oh yeah. Okay,
the chief will soon come out from.
Yeah. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We pay tribute to people who have made contribution to our society, our culture, and all of that. Last week we paid tribute to our boy Edward Doe for his contribution to this. Mr. Tolbert was somebody that I met briefly, and I was impressed when he was on Wall Street. So we paid tribute, and then we'll be closing out. Mr. Eastman, anything to the family? I mean, the guy just went.
Yeah, we also lost Annie Broderick. She was former Miss Liberia.
Yes,
and we want to also give her flowers, and now that she's departed. But and our condolence goes out to all those who have lost their loved ones. Once you're a Liberian, we are in support of you and wish you the best. So Liberia loses when we lose our people. That's what I got for this week.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. We are going to close on the last one here. We ask everybody to address it. I know it won't take us any time. We know in the political landscape, when there's investigations set up, when they say committee to establish, you know where it ends. We know that is the end of it. It is dead. It is kaput. It's done. Mr. Padman wanted to know whether the investigation about they said we got to call it what it is: fingering of the budget. I remember Boakai took someone to court, Sue Cummings.
Yep.
Sue Cummings. Now we are finding out it wasn't when Cummings said, "I didn't do it." The person who did it is here. It was. I want to believe now those who fingered that document are the same one that fingered, and it's coming out to catch them. Mr. Padmore. Address the real quick, and then you're closing.
Yeah. Some things you don't have to talk there. If you just wait long enough, the real people come also. If you just wait long enough, the real people come also. This is not like another representative said. He said this is not the first time. He said this is not strange thing, a usual thing. I remember we used to hear about this during the days of Maurice Atuma. That the budget would come from across the road, and once they hit the mansion, before the president signed it, they would change certain things. It's such a massive document that a lot of times, if you're not paying attention, you will miss it. I'll give you an example. The last year of Donald Trump's presidency, he was very eager to pass a budget to cut taxes on his rich body, his billionaire bodies. And so because of that, the several senators were able to get together, legislators were able to get together and insert in that document a pathway to citizenship for Liberians who have been on TPS. Then even local aid. They were so eager they just signed it. And that's how today Liberians who are TPS and now are green card holders and they're on their way to citizenship. It's a massive document, but the thing about it's a crime. A crime has been committed. And now, because of other people yelling, the budget, they were going to recast the budget. Now they have put a hold to that and they have started an investigation. Here's the problem. Who are the investigators? They're seeing legislators. They are investigating themselves. Right. Why do you think they won't want to go? They're not going to go anywhere. Things go to committee room to die. That's it right there. So we'll hear about it. Maybe next week they'll come out and say, "Oh, we did an investigation and we can't find out who told the clerk."
That clerk, yeah.
Yeah, and this time, Mr. Clerk will forgive you this time, but the next time you try that, the way will come down on you, and it will be the end of it, and they will move forward, and then Yombi will live her gavel. Or you can come and say, hey, boom.
Boom. Go and see no more. Go and see no more. Like,
I would have done the Roland Gettings.
Yeah,
Roland Gettings, bypass PPCC. They told us, go and see no more, young child. These are crimes. And the Minister of Justice could not stand up and be like, Senate, whatever you want to do, that's your problem. I'm the Minister of Justice. A crime has been committed, and I will investigate it into its logical end. This is the country we find ourselves, But in closing, look, it's been a great afternoon. Cheers to Mr. Jah, for providing this platform. And one of the things I love about our focus is that it's dynamic, Before our show, I was listening to another show from Focus. Very, very interesting, And that's the thing about Focus. Depending on what day you tune in, you get different views, different information, different topics, different subject matter. And the thing that this guy, he's moving a lot of things behind the scene by himself, So with that, I want to urge people, okay? This is not a money-making industry. It's not a money-making entity. This thing is run solely on the good hearts of some people who contribute and all Mr. Jah's pocket. Okay? And sometimes, we allow people to bring things only so far. And then we now, who are the benefactors of this, we have to pick it up from there and do something. So I would like to urge you, whether it's this Sunday or it's tomorrow, Monday, or Friday when you get paid, if that even that $20, that little McDonald's money, for your children, that one time visit, just give that $20 to Focus to help, to help Mr. Jah and his team move things forward will be greatly appreciated. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Mr. Tao.
Mr. Tao.
Closing.
Oh! You're doing your diplomatic stuff here. Okay, look, gentlemen, I'm glad to be here, and I was glad to have talked to Mr. Jah and to just listen to the story. But when it comes to the budgets that we're talking about, nothing is going to come out of that. The legislature that is your representative that are actually directly obligated to the people and the constituents that can't even tell you the truth. They're the most dishonest group from what I see, because everything originates from them. These are guys who hold the country, they pretty much hijack the country entire economic structure. They're paying themselves all kinds of money. Every time I hear about them, that's a corrupt group. So nothing is going to come out of it. They just playing some game. And then at the end of the day, it's in committee room. We're not going to hear anything else. We're going to hear about oil refinery and other stuff, and then that will do it. But look, in closing, I've always said it on here. No nation, because you see, when we talk about development, we are talking about both social and economic, right? That then everything else follows. No nation develop as a standalone achievement. And this is one of the fallacy that the IMF, the World Bank, have given us. as African. They drew up Africa development agenda. They drew it up. You're not supposed to develop your resources. They need it. How can you develop without industries? If you develop without industrial base, that development is temporary. Your industrial base is what sustain the development in order for you to continue. I was looking at something on their website. Liberia owes so much money. So it's not for you to pay the money back. They decided that, okay, you know what? What we're going to do, we're going to include you into something called debt sustainability. Not to get rid of the debt, but how to sustain it. And this is what we're boasting about. We are saying something. And I look at the document, debt sustainability, how to sustain the debt. And they'll constantly get into it. So Liberia, it doesn't matter where we go, whether it's to China. I, as a Liberian, understanding the dynamics, if we're coming to the IMF and the World Bank, that is when I'm going to be alarmed. Almost every country. Now, if they really want to develop in terms of some infrastructure and some industries, they turn to the East. Because the Asian model is completely different. Their approach is different. Their approach is not just a regular slave master mentality. Forget about all of the propaganda that you're hearing from CNN and BBC. These same people run to China to sustain their economy. But when they come to the African, I was looking for the video for me to bring it here. In 2009, the European group with the American got together and went to the Chinese, told them that they should not deal with Africa directly because they own Africa. They were there first. The Chinese should deal with them, deal with Africa through them. And the Chinese refused. So these are the kind of stuff that we have in here. But whether we deal with the Chinese or whoever, gentlemen, this is the thing here. Whether it's the Boakai government, any other government, any other concession that we are signing, let us try to do partnership. Let us do some kind of joint venture. ArcelorMittal is there. They're taking all your iron ore. Why can't 20% of that be refined in Liberia and produce steel and other stuff, and they can take the other 80%? That's a joint venture. Firestone been there for over 100 years. Why can't 10% or 5% of that be developed into some product tires and other stuff that can be exported and they can take? Until we start going into this kind of thing, we're going to go look for debt because all your resources are in the hands of somebody, and the money, the payment on raw material is too cheap. You can't run a country with it. Then they tell you need to increase the industrial base so you can go ahead and tax the people. I was in Liberia. My sister was selling in red light. I have a cousin. They would just come around through the LRA that was set up by IMF and World Bank. That is how that LRA was set up, and people think it's a good thing. They come to a store that is selling some little candle. They just come and hand you. They don't. You are not showing anything. They don't look at your book. They say you owe $150 in tax. You must pay within 90 days. So I'm looking at the document like how they came up with it. They say, oh, if you don't do it, they will come and shut the place down. So this is the kind of stuff we have. So let us try to. Our fear should not be where the president go or where they don't go. Is when they go in there, what is the plan? What are they bringing and say, this is what we want? And then how can they implement it? But you see, all of these things are not possible. Like Mr. Eastman said, and many of us said here, MOU is nothing. They're just running and they're talking because they're not accomplishing anything. So since the Liberian people are confused, they throw new terms around to celebrate and it's supposed to mean something. It don't mean anything. No oil refinery coming to Liberia. You don't have oil. They're not going to pipe the oil from Senegal, from Nigeria. Nigeria needs its own oil if they could refine it there. They're not going to bring it from Ghana. So it's not true. Okay? For me to close, the government seriously need to stay at home. The money that they're looking for can be found right at home. It's already there. Cut the salaries and benefits and all the gas slip and all the buying vehicles for all the government officials. That's hundreds of millions of dollars. And you can invest it in the country. But they're not looking to invest in the country. They're looking to steal. They want to go and get more money so they can take more cut and more cut and more cut. And that's where we are.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, next Sunday, our special guest is going to be Anthony Kumakwa. Mr. Kumakwa is going to be here. The first half of the show, no host bar, everything about Kumakwa we're going to discuss. call in, send in your messages. We're going to be dealing with Mr. Boakai next Sunday. Mr. Eastman, send us home.
All right. So, as we always say
No, you got to close first. Now you got to close. Mr. Eastman, you got to close first.
Yeah. Our country is all we got. And we will have to make a sacrifice. We will have to participate. But right now, we can only talk to the current administration and say, stop showboating. Do something concrete so we can all rally behind you. Because all we want is for Liberia to progress. Nobody's an enemy here. But do something so that we too can want to help and want to make a contribution. That's all we can say. I'll leave it right there. And
thank you very much. As always, we say, see you next Sunday. We're all Liberians. That's correct.
We're all Liberians.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.